Okay, so it's time for everyone's favorite moment of the week, and it is called Dave Meltzer's Dumb Moment of the Week. So we'll start at the bottom, work our way up. AIR Gold Duck tweets this out and says, Dave Meltzer thinks it's a bad idea to have a 49-year-old Shelton Benjamin beat young guys in AEW. And let's hear what Meltsy Seltsy Wavy Davy has to say about Shelton Benjamin, who he's been critical of coming into AEW the whole time because he wants to see Ospreay and Cosplay both get pushed for sure. You know that. But at the same token, it's like, why bury the guys that I don't know. Maybe this is him being critical. He's not really burying him. We'll hear what he has to say, but at least he's being critical a bit. At this point, this isn't the thing to like even, oh, I can't believe he'd bring this guy in, bro. He'd bring the Yeti in if he was still a guy, you know? He'd bring Doink the Clown in if he could.
Shelton Benjamin, Sammy Guevara thing, like, it's like, I get it. I get it. You know, Shelton Benjamin needs a big win going into the Swerve match. Sammy's a good wrestler. In theory, it reminds me of Val Venus and Christopher Daniels when in the days of TNA, where, you know, like when Bischoff came in and he brought in all these washed up WWE guys.
Bro, he's calling Benjamin washed up. Like, Dave is so dumb, and I point this out all the time. He never realizes when he backhand disses everyone. You're dissing Tony. You're dissing yourself for trying to put this guy over as the best booker, but then going, oh, he brings in these washed up old guys. And then you're calling Benjamin and MVP and all these guys washed up, all in the same breath. And then meanwhile, you're going to give Benjamin versus Guevara 4.5 stars. So I don't know, man.
And had them beat the top, you know, their guys.
And have them beat the top their guys. So to me, I try to psychoanalyze this. Is Dave stooging what I've been saying, that Hurt Business is going to beat Moxley and right? Because he's like, oh, it's like, it reminds me of when, you know, WCW and Eric Bischoff basically and Hogan and those guys invaded TNA and beat all their top guys, sort of thing. And it's like, okay, let's say you're comparing that to Lashley and them, right? Benjamin's fought Leo Rush and Guevara so far. Yeah, he's beating their guys, but is Leo Rush really their guy? He just signed as well. I think he signed after Benjamin did, technically. So, and then Guevara, I guess, yeah, that's one of their guys, but is he one of their top guys? No. So the comparison's off, and all you're doing is calling Benjamin washed, and I have to point that out.
You know, because they've all been on TV. You know, they have more TV time, so therefore they're bigger stars because they had, you know.
They're bigger stars than Benjamin because they've had more TV time. Benjamin's had more TV time where he's phoned it in than any of these people have had TV time for the most part, dude.
But it, you know, there is a purpose. And Sammy, you know, when
there is a purpose. Sorry, I know I'm pausing it every second, but I'm just breaking this down, guys. There is a purpose. Dave knows the purpose. And I swear it's going to do with the Neo Moxley thing, and they're not going to push any of these guys. All the guys standing out with sticks and bats and pitchforks and torches outside in the parking lot during this Dynamite, waiting for Moxley, none of them will save the day. And if it is Orange Cassidy, the company dies right there.
Lost by Sammy Guevara, which I'm assuming happens. You know, maybe he wins, but I seriously doubt it. You know, that doesn't kill him or anything like that. But as a general rule, in the right direction. But for this one time, I mean, the big thing is to get Shelton Benjamin ready for Swerve. That's the goal for right now. So he should win, and he should win over somebody good.
If you remember, Phil, this was the same guy that said the whole Tony Khan neck brace thing was going to lead somewhere.
Yeah.
And even before that, preceding that, he said the same thing about the CM Punk video from Wembley.
Even he looks tired of just saying this. And then he's like, and we need to get Benjamin ready for Swerve.
Look at that look.
Yeah. He's just given up. He's defeated. And it's like, what does Benjamin fighting Leo Rush and Guevara, how the does that get him ready for Swerve Strickland? It just doesn't even make sense to me at all. So we'll continue.
So I get it. But, you know, it's Shelton Benjamin. And I mean, he looks, you know, physically he looks good and all, but it's going down the wrong path.
What's going down the wrong path?
Yeah, and why Leo Rush and not say
Pack or one of those guys or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Anyone.
it'll at least justify the 20 minutes that you're going to have that match.
Yeah, exactly, dude. So he's like, I don't get it, but I kind of get it. You know,
He doesn't get it.
I know it's so funny. I don't get why they're doing this, but like I do kind of get it. It's a big picture, but like I don't get it. It's like Val Venus. Fucking Dave. So Meltzer talks about Samantha Irvin, and apparently she couldn't come to terms on her working on outside projects, resulting in her departure. I don't know how much because they let Pat McAfee do outside projects now, provided he is big, like on his own, you know, he got really big on his own. However, I don't think WWE can accommodate those things, can't rather. And they also, I did read that they were saying they might bring her back from time to time. So clearly they can. This is sort of them accommodating that, but I don't know. I think she just appears in AEW. Like this is a narrative. She could, because then she can go, oh, well, they let me do outside projects or whatever.
Right.
That's, I don't know. To me, that's just what I'm thinking. But Meltzer goes, she's got some, outside projects, she wants to do. Apparently, couldn't, come to terms with exactly how it worked with WWE. And off she goes. She has reportedly, Brian considered leaving the WWE for a year with the goal to be more involved in her music career. It's just a scummy, seedy business. You don't want to even get into that. So she's actually been thinking about it for a year. She wants to get more involved with her music. It was something she had been talking about for a long, long time and finally pulled the trigger on it. Wow, Dave. So for a long, long time, you didn't report that she was going to leave WWE, is what you're saying. It's not like planning on going to AEW, not saying 100% that she won't. Ricochet actually tweeted that she's not going, and it's not her intention on going there. I don't believe that. I don't believe what Dave has to say.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but can I make a general comment about Mr.
Go
Dave?
ahead. Yeah.
I think Awful and I are around the same age. And when we were in our 20s, it used to be a big deal to get a copy of the Observer or knew somebody that had the Observer, and you had to read it. And it was the biggest thing in the world. And then to see what it's become now, it just, I feel like I did something wrong when I was a kid.
They're all a bunch of...
Tell us what you know, you goddamn liar!
They're just liars, dude. Yeah, when I was a kid, I was really into like going, like I said, on nodq.com. And like, of course, I knew the Observer was like my whole life, so but to me it wasn't this coveted thing. Like like I said, I was downloading on LimeWire and Googling things and like YouTubing things early on, so
right. Yeah, but we're 20
I remember when there was just floppy disks too, and I remember when it changed to where I was like, holy, there's like YouTube and stuff, and I was always like, on that. I was privy to it.
George is making it seem like we're doing this podcast at a retirement home.
Yeah,
like,
from Barney Rubble.
I mean, Phil, we're 20 years apart, Phil. So I mean,
yeah,
you gotta remember we grew up in. Never mind. I don't want to get.
Meltzer was credible.
Exactly. You took what he wrote, and you like ran with it to the school or told your friends about it. Hey, did you hear what Meltzer said? And now it's all locked. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good, man. That's a great addition you brought there, because I didn't ever even think about it that way. Like, I didn't live that, you know what I mean? It was more like, look at this. Did you see this online? Did you see what this guy posted on fucking...
He was like the variety of the wrestling business, if that makes any sense. Like, it was like an industry newsletter that fans were somehow able to get. You know what I mean? It was obviously for the fans, but the information was just so inside, so very... meticulous at the time. So, you kind of trusted it as a source. But because the world's gotten bigger and there's so many outlets now, and he's got to actually compete this time around. I'm sure he was competing with the earlier online sites and all that, but he wiped them up. But now there's a new crop, and it involves video. And look at this guy's mug. I mean, really, is that really ready for, you know what I mean? Like, is that really ready for the 11 o'clock news? And also, it's guys just like Chris Van Vliet.
I know.
I would have said Waterhead Sap, but you got people who are now in this industry doing what he's doing, but just much better.
Yeah, and it's just a dated way of, like, wrestlers can just tweet out what they think or whatever, It's just such a dated way of covering the wrestling, I think, too, that is, I don't know, man. I've been saying it forever since I started this pod. This whole, like, it's like a new wave is coming in of like, and it's happening in other areas of YouTube and podcasting and like that as well, you know. And I just think these guys they're just clinging on, man.
I thought it was the coolest thing in the world when I read The Observer and I learned that Shawn Michaels' real name was Sean Higginbottom.
Yeah, Mike Hickenbottom.
Yeah, then you learn that like Undertaker was Mark Calloway. You didn't know any of that stuff.
What I would do was I would look up the results of house shows too. Like I would go and make sure I knew, like, oh, they were in like Sacramento and no, this guy lost to this guy.
Oh wow, really? You serious?
I
wasn't that deep. Like I would just like read the top stories, and like when it got down to the point where it was just like, here are CMLL results from the, you know. What? I'm not really digging that. I will here's what happened at Budokan Hall. Okay, yeah, I'm reading all that. Okay, I hear you. Whatever.
No, I dig it. Yeah, definitely changed. They grew up with the WCW Hotline and Mean Gene. Yeah, dude. And I remember Taboo Tuesday was like, what a revolutionary concept. I remember too, like, we get to vote on the match.
Young.
Yeah, so I remember being a kid and just marking out for that. Alfred Konua posts at This Is Nasty, of course, posts this. He says, it's voting season and we're just 2 Tuesdays away from election day. You have 2 assignments. 1, register to vote. 2, vote Dave Meltzer for AEW head of creative. The man's been glazing Tony Khan and AEW for 5 years with no payoff that we know of. He needs this. Shout out Alfred, and here's Glaze Meltzer with
Porky Pig of
just failing. Here we go.
Dave Meltzer is the Porky Pig of pro wrestling. He stuttered his way through a wrestling media career with an impressive resume of 100,000 500,000, 1.2 million co-host interruptions, 2.3 billion interactions with trolls, and so many retractions that number hasn't even been invented yet. Despite using his message board as a safe space for Tony Khan, Dave Meltzer was passed up for his dream job as Tony Khan's assistant scheduler in 2023. But with AEW budget increase, Dave Meltzer's 5 years of glazing might pay off after all. Meltzer's influence on Tony Khan has led to an influx of random internet darlings at the top of the card, an AEW creative that comes second to Moose.
I love that shit.
And super workers. As a result, casual viewers nationwide have been inspired to change their channels and even turn off their TVs. In 2024, wrestling fans getting fresh air is at an all-time high on Wednesday nights. Dave Meltzer has a star ratings plan that'll triple 5-star matches for AEW, thereby reducing viewership by 50%, increasing excuses by 80%, and moving the whole product to 2,500-seat buildings. By the end of 2025, AEW live shows will take place for an audience of 1 in San Jose, California, in Dave Meltzer's dungeon, with AEW media freakoffs for Tony Khan's
oh my god. Oh, I love this so much.
Favorite podcasters. And if you don't like that, it's because you don't read, you don't learn, and you just don't study. So study these nuts and vote Dave Meltzer for AEW head of creative.
Oh my god, that is amazing. Round of applause for that, because that was great, dude. I love that. What a heater. Whoever voiced over that, was that AI?
It's gotta be AI.
It's gotta be AI.
Unless Alfred is the greatest
Dave Meltzer is the Porky Pig.
Sorry.
Yeah, because that sounds exactly like Alfred.
AEW freak offs. What are they? Unsolicited TK hugs for hours.
Yeah,
we
crazy.
need to get Burning Senton in here with another fantastical tale. Dave Meltzer has confirmed that Penta Zero Miedo's AEW contract has not been extended with Tony Khan. Also unlikely to use Rey Fenix on AEW TV, despite adding injury time to his deal. Penta's deal was not extended. They didn't have the right to do that, so he's going to be a free agent. As far as Phoenix, my impression is if guys are going to go to WWE, Tony's not going to use them. They're just going to be frozen for a while. Jesus Christ. So I know everyone's beat this to death, and Dave's shedding no new light on anything here, but it's like, I don't know, man. Good for me, not for thee. Tony Khan, he wants to be able to freeze people, but at the start he wants to be like, we're not gonna do that. We've covered it to death, but just ridiculous. But he's well within his right to do so, and if WWE did the same, we wouldn't blame them.
Yeah.
They'll be there when the time's right.
Unfortunately, Phil, Chuck Taylor's getting beaten down by the Neo Moxley group.
Unfortunately, for who? Maybe
sarcasm.
Maybe for Taylor. He might be out of another job here, I guess. So here, I got one last story for Dave Meltzer, then I'll play a flute. Meltzer thinks last night's attack from Uncle Howdy could potentially be Paul Ellering's swan song in WWE. He said he got the impression watching on this show that maybe Ellering is done. I don't think he adds anything. I think the whole idea with him is that somebody got in their heads that we want these guys to be the next Road Warriors. Dave, Jesus Christ. So to make them the Road Warriors, we're going to put Paul with them. But he just stands there. He barely talks. He never interferes. He's 71. All that travel can't be easy. Dave is kind of right. And if they do write Ellering off, then at least they did it in a correct way where they, he saved the Miz and it progresses everyone along the way. But awful. I know you got to get out of here. Your swan song. So what do you make of Dave speculating on Ellering's swan song here? Do you pick up on that they did this to him to get rid of him?
Very first 5 words is I got the impression watching. And so that doesn't mean any sort of news or any sort of insight at what Dave Meltzer has. His opinion is just as valuable as mine at this point, and valuable as yours.
Yep.
The whole idea with him. Okay, so yeah, maybe he wanted to go home. Okay, great. He's 71. It's just like, all right, there's almost like a level of knowledge that the wrestling fan shouldn't know, if that makes any sense. Like, there's just some things that you shouldn't just. I mean, and this is one of them. Who cares? Like, what sort of inside baseball are you giving us as far as Paul Ellering is concerned, and his supposed, exit from the storyline? I don't know. I hate British wrestling sites.
I think Dave's thing is like, this is an easy speculation to make, so he's just gonna like try and drop some bars,
Right. Like,
that's all it is. Yeah. And with that, guys, that was Dave Meltzer's dumb moment of the week.